The 2020 NBA season has been alive and well for only 6 days, and it seems that we've almost never had a weirder start to a season. The James Harden situation in Houston seems to be getting weirder each day. Even though he is playing for the Rockets now, he still is demanding a trade too. It seems pretty much any team that has the ability to match his salary. And the Eastern Conference keeps on growing weirder as the Cleveland Cavaliers and Orlando Magic are tied for the number one seed. However, even though there are a lot of things that are weird going on in the NBA right now, one of the things that shouldn't be considered weird, or at least should have been expected throughout this season, was the fact that Brandon Ingram has taken the next step in terms of being a superstar in the NBA. The obvious facts are the fact that Brandon Ingram has been averaging 26.5 points per game, 6 rebounds, 7 assists pretty much through these first 3 games of the season. The New Orleans Pelicans are 2-1 against 3 teams that are pretty much perennial all-star teams like the San Antonio Spurs, Toronto Raptors, even the Miami Heat, even though they lost to the Heat. That was on Christmas. I mean, JJ Redick went on his podcast and said how much he hates playing on Christmas. I would assume that most players, especially the younger guys, don't necessarily love to play on Christmas. However, even though they lost, they still looked okay in the game, and Brandon Ingram still had his type of game this season that is, not only all-star caliber, but in my opinion, is putting him at the top of the MVP frontrunner race. Brandon Ingram not only has the obvious stats that show why he could be the front runner, and in my opinion is the front runner for the MVP this early in the season. He not only has the individual stats, but he has team stats that back up why he should be considered that as well. When you look at his plus minus, he's a plus 34 in the plus minus, which I don't necessarily know exactly how he ranks among the rest of the NBA in that statistical category. However, I put up a list of about 12 players that probably are considered towards the top of the NBA in terms of player rankings. And he is not only in the thick of it in terms of being up there in plus minus, but he's above a lot of names like Damian Lillard, Anthony Davis, and some of these guys he's completely blowing out of the water in terms of their plus minus. Now, while plus minus is not necessarily the number one factor in terms of, deciding an MVP race, I think it is still a good metric to look at because it does show an effect of a player being on the court or not. And being at a plus 34, being tied with guys like LeBron and only being out, gained in the plus minus box by guys like Kevin Durant and Trae Young just shows how valuable Brandon Ingram has been even this early in the season. And a plus 34, that's plus 10 per game. So, like I said, it's not the number one factor, but it is a good metric to be used to be, judging players and their value. When you also look at the points that Brandon Ingram has generated, both through his own scoring and the assists that he has generated, and the points that he's generated off of those assists, you'll see that he actually accounts for 38.2% of his team's points. And again, I don't know necessarily where that ranks him amongst the rest of the NBA, but I would assume that almost being at 40% puts him towards the top. And again, is another thing to look at when it comes to judging his value, not only for his team, but against the rest of the league as well. Now, even though a lot of my main points so far have been about the offensive side of the ball, the 38.2% of the team points, the 26 points per game for Brandon Ingram, he is also part of a New Orleans Pelicans team that right now ranks second in the entire NBA in terms of points per game. They only allow about 101.7 points per game, and he's been a big part of that. He averages about a steal per game, about half a block per game. And him, along with Zion Williamson, Lonzo Ball, Josh Hart, Steven Adams, they have a lot of guys that not only are very big and athletic guys, but they can really wreak havoc on the defensive side of the ball. Steven Adams has always been a very great big man defensively. Lonzo Ball has always been a very solid defender as well. And Josh Hart off the bench pretty much gives as much effort as anybody on the defensive side in the NBA. So he's been a big part of that as well. And it also is another reason as to why I think he should be the front runner for the MVP. Brandon Ingram has also helped lead the New Orleans Pelicans to a 2-1 record throughout their first 3 games in this season. And they've played 3 very good, not only very good teams, but very good defensive teams. The Toronto Raptors are a very good defensive team, as well as the Miami Heat and San Antonio Spurs. And the fact that he's played as well as he has, he's been really the only player for the Pelicans who's played this well. He averages 26 a game, but he also hasn't scored less than 26 in any of the games that they've played so far this year. And he's been consistently threatening a triple-double in all 3 of the games that he's played so far. So not only is he just playing as well as he has so far, but he's playing against 3 teams that are very good defensive teams in their own right, and are 3 just very good teams really to be playing that well against in general. So I think that also goes to show just how big of a step forward Brandon Ingram has taken this year. Now, the thing for me that I think Brandon Ingram has taken a huge step forward in is being able to score without having to have the ball passed to him. And what I mean is being able to be more of a isolation scorer, not necessarily isolation, but just being able to score on his own without having someone generate a point for him. Right now, he's sitting at only about 27% of his baskets come off of an assist. And he usually was floating between the 33 to 35% range. So even though that's not necessarily a stat that I think many people look at, I think it is somewhat of a telltale sign of how Brandon Ingram has been, going at this season so far in terms of the offensive side of the ball. And I think it's something that Stan Van Gundy probably wanted to do more, was have the ball in Brandon Ingram's hands a lot more and have him being the guy that's generating the offense. And you can see how it's affected the rest of the team. Lonzo Ball right now is sitting at only about 5 assists per game, which is by far his career low. Zion Williamson has not been asked really at all to be a main ball handler for the New Orleans Pelicans. And so far, it's worked for the Pelicans. Brandon Ingram has the great stats. He has great percentages. He's shooting about 45% from three, about 45% from, just the field goal, just the field goal percentage in general. And his free throw percentage is at about 83% as well. So having the ball in Brandon Ingram's hands not only has helped him, it's helped his team. It's helped really everybody within the roster in general in terms of their percentages, in terms of the team winning. So again, it's just another point as to why I think Brandon Ingram should be the MVP so far. Now, with all that being said, that's going to be the video for me. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you hit the like button. If you didn't, make sure you hit dislike. Any feedback from you all at this point is much appreciated. If you're a Pelicans fan, you're probably loving this channel right now because this is the second straight video I've made about the Pelicans. But I promise you, if you're not a Pelicans fan, I put out much more about both the NBA, NFL, really anything sports related. So if you are new here, make sure you hit subscribe. If you are one of my returning subscribers, I appreciate you so much. And I'll see you in the next video. Peace.